This is our regularly scheduled October meeting of the Library Board of Trustees. It is now 7 o'clock. I call the meeting to order. Ask the secretary to read the roll, please.
Thank you. Trustee Chakai?
Present.
Trustee Lesko?
Here.
Trustee Margolis?
Present.
Trustee Mazunek is absent.
Absent, excused.
Trustee Sterling?
Present.
Trustee Verma present. Student Representative Anki Redigre? Student Representative Hong?
Present.
Thank you.
I'd ask everybody to rise while we give a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is the overview and approval of the agenda. Before I request a motion, I want to point out a few things. Number one, under item 15, matters for board action, there's no need for item A since we actually conducted that last month, and John Lesko has been gracious to accept the position of vice president, so we don't need that. We also want to point out that there's a few items relocated under different positions. As a gesture, we've accommodated the student representatives, moved them up on the agenda with the expectation that you'd have the opportunity to bring your friends and colleagues in to participate. Thank you very much. Once your report is presented, you will have the option to stay as long as you need to, or you feel free to leave. Okay? And then thirdly, I'd like to make a request going forward for my own benefit. With respect to the page numbers identifying the various schedules that we have in our packet, would you please identify the full page number? So for instance, under the consent agenda, we have the approval of claims and warrants. You'll find that on pages 3 and 4. We have the regular minute meetings from the prior meeting. Those are on pages 5 through 9. Under the president's report, item A is relating to the goals achievement. We actually have two sets. We have a quarterly or full report you'll find on pages 13 through 18. And just for the September activity, pages 19 and 20. We also moved up the cafe report to the president's report from the previously under the treasurer's report. So you'll find report or comments on page 32. With respect to the treasurer's report, the library budget, you'll find on pages 21 through 23. Item C, the financials in the Walker Fund. The financials relating to Fund 68, you'll find on 25 through 27, and again on 29. Funds 269, you'll find on pages 28 and 30. Under the director's report, the public services report, pages 31 through 32. Building operations, 36 through 39. The library usage statistics, 41 through 49. The Friends of the Library, 50 to 51. So with those changes, I will accept the motion to approve the agenda. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just one question.
Go ahead.
Why do we have two public comment sections? One in the beginning, one in the end?
You can't accommodate everybody in one.
I would think that it's to give people an opportunity, if they didn't avail themselves early on in the meeting, that they have another opportunity later on.
Okay.
And I don't know that we need to be limited to two. We could have more, but if that's the,
I thought we'd be limited to one.
It's following similar protocol to the city council as well. But,
I think the intent is you have one early on in the meeting so that if we are going to discuss something at the meeting, it would give the public a chance to do some input in regard to the item we're going to discuss. Likewise, by having an additional public comment at the end of the meeting, if there was something that we discussed during the meeting that they then wanted to comment on. So this is sort of a chance for the public to comment, both before we discuss something and then after we discuss something.
Thank you.
So back to the motion on the table to accept the revised agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this is the agenda we're working with, so now we're moving on to item 4, the consent agenda. The consent agenda comprised two characteristics. Warrant 523, where we need to authorize expenditures of $73,170.14, of which $10,213.68 relate to prior periods other than September, and then the minutes from the September 17th meeting. Are there any questions or comments on either of these documents?
And move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Support.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to item 5, correspondence. We have 2 items of correspondence.
we do. On page 10 is the first correspondence from Nancy Maxwell, the Executive Director of Sweet Dreams. We have built a relationship with this organization over a number of years, and when need arises, and if the library is able, we look to donate materials in order to help out for some of the projects that they have going on. And we were able to donate 4 Dr. Seuss books for an event that they had through their organization. That was a thank you letter from Nancy to recognize that. The second correspondence is a thank you email from Brian Yap. It actually went to Roy Prentice, but it included myself on the email. Brian is, he is actually one of the liaisons for the Motor Cities Marker Project, which we had just installed in September. And this was just a thank you for how well the project was received, not only in Novi, but from the Motor Cities National Heritage group. And they were very pleased to see how many went into, obviously into Novi, and also how well the brochure was done, which was a thank you to Cheryl Walsh and her team here at the city. But it was a wonderful collaboration of partnerships to make this project go so well for us, and to also now highlight many historical landmarks here in Novi.
Thank you. Any questions or comments of the director? Hearing none, we move on to the next item, where we're very fortunate to have some library benefactors, and there's to be a presentation.
So I am very excited to give you a little bit of information about what we've been doing in the last couple months, since maybe June. The Crawford family, Hugh and Kathy Crawford, celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary in late September. And a few months back, they both approached me, and they wanted an opportunity that in lieu of gifts, when they had their celebration and they invited all their wonderful friends and family, that they have, in lieu of gifts, donations made to the Novi Library. The donations are specifically for a bronze statue that we are currently fundraising for at the library. I've brought a photo for you to see of the actual statue. It's almost 7 feet tall, to give you an idea of how tall it will be, and the location that we are looking to install it will be in our patio area, actually in the bed area, so that you can see it high above from the first park and also from the library. At their event, celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary, we received many wonderful gifts that came from all of their friends and family, and even residents of Novi, which are also their friends and family. And I'm happy to report that so far we've raised over $7,000 towards our $12,000 goal. And I actually brought a chart to show you where we are to date. So actually this was for the night of the event. So we were at 6,000 at that point point, and we are still continuing to receive donations. And actually, this is an opportunity for anyone in the community that if they are in love with and want to support this particular statue, they can do that. We won't be installing until next late spring, so we have plenty of time to continue our fundraising through the winter and spring months. We have to meet a $12,000 goal. This evening, I know that Blair Bowman is here from the Suburban Collection Showplace, and he actually started off this wonderful campaign by donating $3,000 to the Novi Library for this particular fundraiser. So Blair, do you want to come up?
I just want to say two things. One is that could not think of a better couple to support. I mean, they're synonymous with Novi, the wonderful history, the commitment to the community. And what this represents is a small part of our effort in the revival of the state fair, actually the Fifth Third Bank Michigan State Fair. We're going to continue to try to give back each year more and more to the community. So we were able to do that to a number of civic and community organizations already who helped and participated and supported the fair, but we were looking to be able to do a few $1,000s more and increase our giving from last year. And so this opportunity came up, and so could not think of a better way to do it. And as they progress, we indicated too that we'll continue to help, and if it goes into next year and there's still a few dollars needed, we can, tack that on to our additional give even next year if we need to help make up any differences that's there too. So, but tonight here is certainly to. Oh, that's not. Look at this is not during public comment, the first or second. I'm sorry, this is not official. And I didn't give my name or address. You can't have that.
Photo is on the TV.
Oh, it's televised? Yeah. So, in any event, we really just honored to be a part of it. It's a great project, not only for the library, but to honor and commemorate the Crawfords who have done so much for this community, and we're just happy to do a small part.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to invite Hugh and Kathy up as well for the photo, and also David, if you wouldn't mind.
Today I received another check for 100, so you can just make me a red.
Out in the patio area, she said?
In the patio?
Yeah.
In the patio? Or?
Well, she said, I'm assuming it's high on the ground outside the patio there.
Even though I'm not at the podium here, I would ask while they're standing up, the board recognize the wonderful, number one, 50 years of marriage is a
One person.
It's just wonderful, and I just want my fellow trustees.
Actually, Julie was the one, Julie and I, when we first saw this statue, we really, she reminded me too, she said, you know what, you have always lived in this community, both of us were born here, and Hugh was in the Marine Corps, and we grew up at a time, very patriotic time, and I think our community is very patriotic as well. So we thought, what more fitting, the library, where a lot of people can have an opportunity to see it, and we have so many people moving to our community that really are happy to be here. And we thought, that is perfect. When Julie and I first saw that, we said, okay, that's the one.
They have been huge supporters of our library for so long. Kathy helps out in our bookstore. Kathy helps out with the Historical Commission. Hugh actually has presented at Library of Michigan Senate events and spoken about, different issues that are going on at the state level for libraries. They have really been a huge part of us and in this community for a long time, and I'm honored
Me too.
to be part of this and for us to have something very specific that you're leaving for us to have forever. So I thank you so much.
I'll give you that check.
I just want to say, Kathy and you, I was not present on your wedding day 50 years ago, but you both look very handsome and pretty. Yeah. Photo. And yes.
We're still upright.
You,
Anyway, we're gonna stick around for a while, make sure you do your meeting. Okay. I do think it's right.
Thank you. Which brings us to the first opportunity for public comment. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes unless you're representing an organization, in which case we'll extend you the courtesy of another few minutes of time. Anybody that would wish to address the board, please come up to the podium, state your name.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Rochelle Smith, and I'm a Novi resident and business owner. And I just wanted to stop by with a word of encouragement and thanks for all that you all do for the library. I see Julie very often in the library, and I tell her often just how much I appreciate your library. And I know that many folks don't come forward to express their appreciation and thanks, but I am one of those individuals, and I can assure you that I speak for many. I know that the hours that you all put in, your commitment, your integrity, and your commitment to excellence. I mean, truly, I feel that we have one of the library in the nation that's second to none. So I spend a lot of time there. I speak for many. I want to encourage you to keep up the great work and just continue to represent our community in the awesome manner in which you are doing. You are greatly appreciated, and you are truly making a difference, not only in Novi, in Southeast Michigan, but in our nation. You're truly making an impact. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none?
Before
I'm sorry?
Just
Go ahead.
go back to this.
Sure.
What is the total fundraising up to now?
The total fund, we're over.
With that additional check for $100 now?
Oh, now you're gonna ask me to add. I know that we're over 7,000,
Okay.
probably midway.
And can you check for, at least send me an email, do you find out how many homeowners associations we have in Novi?
Sure, I can get
Because
you.
maybe, since this is such a unique fundraising endeavor, maybe we can reach out to the homeowners associations to participate as a residential grassroots project that the Crawfords have started here. So
I know
maybe we
that-
can get, you know, if there's I forget how many we have, but
Yeah, there's,
even
it's
if
a
there's
good number.
$50 from each of them as a
Right.
contribution, it's worth certainly asking.
I will definitely do that, and I can let you know that as part of our annual letter that I send out, usually early November, I will indicate an opportunity for people who have been supporters of our library over the years to take part in this if they are interested.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 8 is now the student representative report, and I'll ask student representative Juan to make a presentation.
Before I start, can I ask a question about the statue real quick? I think it's very pretty, but I can't really see from here. What are the ethnicities of the children being represented on the statue?
I don't know if they actually are specific enough, I mean,
Okay.
it's hard to tell. I mean, I can find out if there was one
Okay.
specifically when making them, but
Okay.
I don't think there is, but I can find that out.
Okay, that would be helpful.
Yep.
Okay, so anyway, student representative report. This month, obviously, school resumed, so library traffic went up because all the students are now going to the library. Duct tape notebooks, which was where they put the duct tape on the notebooks, had 18 attendees, while Teen Advisory Board started off very strong. Teen Space had 967 attendees over the course of how many is that? I can't see that. 22 sessions, averaging 44 attendees per day. And the highest attendance count was on September 11th, when 67 students were in that room. There is a general increase in attendance on Thursdays due to the JV football games, as well as many clubs meetings on Thursdays. This month, we also have 2 members of the Teen Advisory Board joining us to talk about our upcoming efforts at the library. Go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cindy. I'm a sophomore at the high school, and I'm a secretary for the Teen Advisory Board.
Hi, my name's Young. I'm a junior, and I'm the vice president.
Basis of TAB, we are consisted of high school students with Miss Jen as our supervisor, and we help and decide the activities for teens at the library. And September was the launch of our first meeting for TAB, And there we had many new members, increased in numbers, and one of our main focus for the September meeting was progressing of the cultural festival that we're planning on hosting in November. The purpose of the festival is to promote diversity in Novi. Since Novi, there's many cultures that make up Novi, we want to bring that together on a day where everyone can come in and learn about the different cultures that make up Novi.
So far we have dance, we have food, and we have people dress up in the clothes that represent their culture, so we can show people that the diversity of the culture in Novi. And there's a upcoming meeting this Friday where we'll continue discussing the festival as it's still ongoing. We haven't finished planning it yet.
That's about it.
Thank you. So yeah, that's what we're doing at Teen Advisory Board right now. And for upcoming student programs at the library, on October 11th and October 18th, there's the Kaplan ACT test-taking seminar. October 14th, more college planning strategies. October 16th, manga club. October 17th, pizza taste-off and the TAB meeting. So we're super excited about that. And October 25th, how to make creepy cupcakes. So lots of fun.
Very good. We laud your efforts as always. Thank you. Moving on now to the President's Report, item 9. There are 2 items listed here. One is the achievements of the goals update, and the other relates to the cafe. With respect to the goals, I just want to reiterate to my fellow trustees, and more importantly to the people at home, we convene once a year to go over and strategize over the goals and the objectives that we would like the director and the staff to develop and concentrate and focus on over the course of the year. We came up with 8 of those goals. They then took the time and effort to strategize and develop tactics. And the tactics are opportunities for the goal achievement. Now, the burden of tracking the achievement and the progress is still ours. So rather than ask the director to read the report, which has already been given out to us, going forward, I'm going to ask that the board itself take the initiative to review in advance and then ask questions for items they don't understand. Now, if you're anything like me, the middle section of the reports says ownership. And I had to pinch myself a second and say, wait a minute, what are these different acronyms here? And there are 5 different acronyms or 5 different owners for the various tactics to achieve the goals that we set out. Where you see the initials IS, that stands for Information Services. They deal primarily with reference questions, material selection, programming, and instruction. Where you see SS, that's Support Services. Their primary responsibilities are ordering and processing materials, checkout in and out of materials, and delivery of materials. Where you see AD, that stands for Administration, which includes HR, finance, fundraising, rentals, volunteers, and marketing. IT stands for Informational Technology and Building-Related Functions. And the one that is pretty much self-explanatory should be the board, which is us. Okay? So we primarily have oversight responsibilities. And what we've been given here today are 2 sets of reports. The first report, running from pages 13 through 18, we get once a quarter. And it's a full-blown regurgitation of all of the goals and all of the achievements to date. In the interim meetings, we will get a smaller version, and you'll find that on pages 19 and 20, which are those goals and those tactics which were achieved during the period since our last meeting together. So rather than go through the entire quarterly report, which a very simple overview says we're well on our way towards achieving each of the 8 objectives. With respect to activity which occurred since September 17th through yesterday, we have on page 19, goal number 1, which is balance the needs of the community with fiscal responsibility and reduce the deficit spending. We've kind of pounded the staff and administration pretty hard that we need to see some effective rollback here. So the tactic they identified is evaluating staff levels for possible reductions. And they were able to replace, mostly through attrition, 47 hours per week, 21 hours for shelvers and 26 hours in circulation, due primarily to staff resignations. Goal number 4 is providing quality services, collections, programs, and technology with an emphasis on the aging population needs of this community. So under the tactic to publicize and engage the older adult community in Oakland County, especially service for the visually impaired, their activity during the last month is identifying and photographing limitations to accessibility within buildings using the site-wise guidelines. And I'm not familiar with that, so Julie, you may weigh in on what site-wise is. It was developed by Henry Ford Hospital, and it's a way of creating an Excel file to record findings and notes.
I'll actually let Mary Ellen speak to that.
That's actually from the IS department, and I don't know specifically what the site-wise guidelines are. We'll get back to you on that.
Another tactic that shows our commitment to providing quality services, collections, programs is to partner with older adult services at the Meadowbrook Activity Center to attract older adults for library programming services, resources, and technology, and providing no-fee transportation to the library. So they were working with the city council, and they're in discussions to provide quarterly book discussions beginning after the first of the year. They also met with OAS to discuss AARP tax days, something called Gale courses, which the director will expand on later during her report, and the possibility of holding programs here at the library. And then lastly, make a greater number of materials more easily accessible to patrons. They created book club kits that are now requestable/holdable to facilitate more book discussion group usage. Under the strategy of increasing or implementing program opportunities, host music or dance programs with different cultural groups. They met with volunteers to create a program on the history of Mexican folk dancing styles and costumes. Increase the use of the youth activity room. Well, here they investigated and are planning art classes for elementary age students taught by high school art club students. And then investigating holding more after-hour events for all age groups. They're investigating after-hours Minecraft program for January and March. And again, if you want to expound on what Minecraft is, that would be helpful.
Sure, it's actually a very, very popular online gaming. It's building of worlds, as I'm understanding it through my son and my young children who play it. So it's an opportunity to tie into some of the video gaming that kids do, but it's very popular, and it's also education-based as well. There's a nice relationship with it. So we thought that would be a good one also to be providing to the community. And because it's so popular, we think that we'll have some very good response from our young people.
On page 20, you'll notice it's a very mundane thing here, but it's important. They upgraded from XP to Windows 7 and from Microsoft Office 2007 to version 2010. This is an ongoing project, or it says completed in 2012. That doesn't make sense. It must be a typo.
Actually, no. The tactics that are included here were from the strategic planning document. So even though, so this is something that was in the document to be completed in 2014-15 fiscal year, but we were ahead of the game.
Yep.
It was actually done in 2012, but it was included because it was part of that
For
document.
this year.
Thank you. Another tactic is to improve online public catalog, and here the Enterprise Online Public Catalog was implemented with a more familiar type of interface, providing better searching options and faster placing of holds.
And this is through our consortium, so that's through TLN working with them. Many of the libraries that are in the consortium that are sharing the automation system are currently under the new enterprise and are getting ready to. We adopted in late September to roll forward. Some libraries haven't quite yet, but we're receiving pretty good response from it, even though it has a totally different look from the old catalog.
Okay. Two other strategies that fall under goal number 4. One is to partner more with the Novi School District, increasing activities with the school district. And one of the accomplishments was providing tour and database instructions to 63 Novi Meadow students. They also met with Novi School's instructional coach to review SRP stats and a plan for the school group presentation. And then lastly, under the strategy of maintaining current collections and services, investigate and add new collections / pathfinders based upon interest and needs of the patrons. So their action was developing a baby / toddler page with literacy and included info on the webpage. There were a few other items here, but all in all, again, it's just tangible evidence of the success that the director and her staff and administration goes towards achieving the goals that we set out on. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Go ahead, trustee.
Under the increase implement programming, we met with the volunteer of the Mexican. How about some other ethnic groups?
That was just one that came up at the time, but we are always investigating different groups all the time.
Yeah, I think it would be good to like
We
that.
do, we will. As we accomplish them this year, we will do that. We currently have a Chinese cooking group coming in actually in November. We've done some Indian cooking. So there's a number of things that are planned, but we just, at this point, we put in what's accomplished, what we've accomplished so far. But there are plans to do many different things with different cultures.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments with respect to goal achievement? Hearing none, we'll move on to item B relating to the cafe. If you'll recall from the last meeting, we had extensive conversations here, and an invitation was extended to Gary to make himself available for this evening. Regrettably, he's not here.
He's not, no.
However, you'll find on page 32 a cafe report in which the director met with Gary on Tuesday, October 7th. He shared that the cafe is in good shape, but this past summer's revenue, specifically July and August, was lowest in 4 years. He also shared that the revenue due to the library for July and August is $559.79, which relates to July 308.79 and August 251. Again, for frame of reference, the contract calls for a minimum, I believe, of 2.25. Oh, excuse me, 1.25.
1.25, yes.
So we're still above the minimum requirement, we just hadn't had collections here.
Correct.
But there was a offer made to make the July and August payments to the library in 3 installments of $186.60 each, in addition to being on time with regular monthly revenues going forward. The director seems to feel that this is an acceptable arrangement between the library and with Gary Bernstein. I will leave it then to my fellow trustees to discuss and make a motion to accept the offer. Trustee Stark.
My thoughts on that is I think that's a good idea, but I think I would prefer that we not even really do a motion. I think that this is kind of, let's leave it at the director's discretion. I happen to agree with that, but I don't think that activity really rises to the level where we need a board action to accept or not accept. I think it's kind of at a level that it's best handled by the director with talking to the cafe owner. And so I support what the director has recommended and done, but I don't feel it really needs a motion.
Okay. Any other comments? Trustee Checker?
I would echo Trustee String's comments, and I would just like to put this back on our list maybe for January to revisit the contract in general, because I certainly can appreciate the June, July, and August, those summer months when the student population is not there, that, you know, it might be tough for them. And, you know, I have some thoughts on maybe we can do something to assist, but I certainly don't want to get into that until we're current with our tenant. But I do recognize that it is driven by the revenue of the students, and I think that's been confirmed by you, Julie, and staff.
It is.
And I think we overwhelmingly like the idea that somebody is there, somebody that's providing the service, and
Correct.
the quality, and the cleanliness that we've come to expect. So I support having the director take care of this.
Thank you.
All right, going back to trustee Stirring's recommendation that we not formalize it, I would only ask a question. So how do we determine going forward whether a default is in play or not?
Well, he has until December to make the other payments. I think the big concern would be when we get to that December month, and if we don't see that he has done what he has said he would, that we would be looking at sitting down with him and then looking at perhaps another opportunity or alternative at that point. But I'm comfortable at this point that what he says he is looking to do, and he has now a plan in action, which we didn't have, and we really didn't have very much information from him in the past. And so this, I do think, is a good step in the right direction with him in terms of, you know, how we will get that revenue back and then move forward.
Okay, then the director is empowered then to accept.
Thank you.
And move forward. That brings us to item 10, the treasurer's report.
That's right.
Yes,
One thing, Mr. President, just to clarify, Julie,
Yes.
has the cafe made their September and October payment?
It is due on the 15th, and they have 5 days of a late grace. So it should be received today, if not in the next 5 business days, for it to be on time for September.
Okay. So,
Yes.
So I think clearly, at least from my perspective, empowering the director to talk about July and August makes lots of sense, but if he's not paying September and October, then
Right.
and maybe it doesn't change who's gonna
Yeah.
deal with them day to day, but
It was understood that he would make regular payments as of September. He made August,
Okay.
make September, and then come from.
he'll catch up on that.
Yes, catch up on the others.
Thank you.
Exactly. Yep.
Before I turn the mic over to the treasurer, I have a question, and I don't know if either the director or the treasurer is in a position to answer, but here we are on October 15th. What is the status of the city's annual audit, and when can we close the prior fiscal year?
No, that's a great question. I actually sent that request to the city today. The contacts that I normally have are out of the office until the 20th, so I should be hearing something back. I know that the audit, as far as I understand, it took 2 weeks, and it should be complete, but I haven't heard for sure that everything's been completed yet. I have not received any new financial information.
So realistic expectation is for our November meeting? to have
Typically, it
closure
is
for the
anyways.
next fiscal
It
year?
is. And typically, I've worked around this time frame in the past because I'm always looking around the same time that I'm sending my annual letter, and it is around the same time frame that I'm getting those final numbers.
Then I will indeed turn the floor over to the treasurer.
Thank you. To follow up on that comment, we also, at this date, do not have the quarterly investment report. And once again, going back to the director's comments, the individuals that we typically reach out to are both out of the office. And so we will not have that, and we should have that for the November meeting. With that said, looking at the budget, if I can just summarize, so we are 1 quarter in, 3 months into our new fiscal year. As we've discussed in the past, and for those at home, from a revenue perspective, the library is front-loaded, meaning that we get the lion's share of our revenue stream is in the house in the first quarter of the year, and that is no different than it is today. I think we're at about 97% of our budgeted revenues have been received to date. Those are clearly primarily driven by tax revenues. On the expense side, if we were to just do a simple annual projected expenses of a little over $3 million, $3,056,000, if we take that ratably over 4 quarters, that's about $764,000 of expenses on a per month or per quarter basis, adjusted for timing of events, extra payroll in terms of, next quarter. Second and third quarter, we have an extra payroll in each of those as opposed to the first and fourth quarter. So with that in mind, if you take our annual expenses as budgeted of $764,000 per quarter, our expense numbers as recorded for the first quarter of this fiscal year is $667,000. So we're about $97,000 ahead of plan. That could be due mostly to timing issues and certainly through the efficiencies that staff and administration are continuously working on. So the good thing is that thus far, first quarter into the year, we're on the right side of the ledger. We'd hope we would actually be. So if anybody has any questions on that, I'd like to just move on. What's next in our package is.
Since you opened the door, you know I'm gonna walk through.
Oh, no, and I think you should. I think we would all be disappointed.
Your assessment on the 3-month year-to-date numbers, I agree with entirely. However, implied in those numbers are retroactive adjustments, again, not disclosed, so you gotta kind of bury them out. It turns out that there's an additional almost $10,000 of revenues recognized that we didn't know about a month ago.
Yep.
There's also additional expenditures of almost $23,000 that were charged back to August, we didn't know about. So a net decrease in the excess revenues over expenditures for the current fiscal year of $12,718.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
it is, and we go through that every quarter, and it is very frustrating. And the good thing is, historically, or when we finish the end of the year, after the adjustments are made, and hopefully we will see this come the next month's meeting, that there'll be some vindication in where our thought process has been, notwithstanding the frustrating adjustments that we consistently see. That's probably the most consistent thing we see, is the inconsistency of the reporting. But at the end of the day, it usually does work itself out. And I think historically, once again, we watch that closely, as those that watch will know, and certainly privately in our meetings and such. So it is frustrating, though. Which leads us to, if I can go from there to the 269 account and the 268 account. Let me go to 268 first, which is our operating account, if you will. Those numbers are detailed on page 29, and those numbers do tie out. But when we flip over to account 269, which is the contribution funds, some restricted and some not restricted, we have had for the last several months, we've had issues in terms of what our beginning fund balance is and should be. And I think we have determined, and I think we've determined on solid footing, that our number should be about $1,592,028 to start the fiscal year. But the reporting that we see here and included on page 30 ties out to a number of $1,590,760. So we have a difference of $1,268. I'm sure it's accounted someplace. We just don't see how it's tying out to these. So
Once we have the final
once we have
numbers, the cards in play.
we should be able to see that. So once again, going back to the consistency, this is also something that has been consistently reflected. And we talk about this every month. And maybe it's by design, because it certainly does keep us all focused and sharp and looking at the numbers. So I think that's probably a good thing.
Again, if I might interject, without having the quarterly investment report, what you find by drilling down into the numbers is that there was an implied retroactive first quarter adjustment of an additional $8,752, most of which, $9,000, are unrealized gains
Right.
that were credited to August, weren't reflected in last month's meeting. And I'm sure by the time we get to next month, with what's going on in the market right now, it's gonna whipsaw the other way, so don't get
Right.
too excited.
And with that, that concludes my report for tonight.
While we're talking about financials, whenever I have a minute, I go through the policy manual, and I just have a question. I came across what the library operates on a cash accounting system with exceptions for unrealized gains or losses on investments, accrued interest, and deferred tax revenues. Is that still true?
No, it was modified by the audit 2 years ago. It's not truly a cash basis, it's a hybrid.
Modified cash basis?
Yes,
Yeah,
modified
It's a
cash.
modified cash, but the expenditures are recognized on a cash basis, which is why when we do the warrants, a lot of the payments you're approving are for prior period activity, but they went to a mark-to-market basis on the investments on the asset side, and that gets flushed through on an accrual basis.
So general expenditures, though, are handled on as paid.
As paid.
Cash,
Is that
cash
still-
base.
Why do we end up with accounts payable on our financials then?
I'm sure it's timing difference
Yes.
from when they receive it until they post it on a specific vendor file.
And then the warrants are issued how many times a month, Julie?
The warrant?
How many times are checks issued?
Well, it depends on council meeting, but it's typically twice a month.
Twice.
Yes. But if a council meeting doesn't happen but once, depending on holiday and stuff, that can change it, but it's typically.
Okay, so the policy manual is incorrect then, okay.
Needs to be updated.
Yes.
One
John,
of
are you part of the policy committee?
Well, no, like I said, when I have time, I just like to look at these things and,
legitimate.
yeah.
So with respect to the budget on page 24, the director presented what we had discussed at the September meeting, and I asked that she reformat it a little bit, such that the beginning fund balances are not viewed as current year revenues. So we can track the activity for the current fiscal year separately. And so it was a last minute change that hopefully everybody has access to. If not, the director can pass them out. So other than the $1,268 differential, we now have, of the funds categories within Fund 269, we have several that are restricted or designated, the majority of which is undesignated. And the purpose of that is those funds are committed normally on the donor's instructions, and we want to comply and make sure that we act in good faith and we spend those funds accordingly. So for instance, in the case of the current fundraising project, as it relates to the statute here, we're not going to take the money and use it for anything other than the intended usage without consulting with the benefactors. But that's our intent and our game plan going forward. So you have the revised plan in front. So basically, we're projecting revenues of $56,000, expenditures of $30,000. We plan to add to the fund, absent any unrealized gains or losses or any significant investment returns. We anticipate adding another $26,000 to the fund by June of 2015. That's the intent. Okay? Any other questions of the treasurer or the reports?
Well, just to clarify, and I know it's noted on the bottom, but this, page 24, where we have the new budget for account 269 is what we had discussed and approved and signed off on last month's meeting in terms of the categories and the allocation of funds amongst those categories. And then I will.
What I did was just add a revised at the
Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Moving on to item 11, the director's reports.
I guess I need a mic. First, before I get into just some of the information that's in the report, I wanted to point out, you all have a copy of this at your seat. This, as you can see, the front cover is the library. So this is thank you to the Chamber, the Novi Chamber of Commerce. This is their business directory for 2014 and 15. So for 2 years, as they use this in the community, it's the library that's getting front show, I should say. So it's pretty exciting that they took that photo and used it. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. Great piece of information and great information about different community.
Too bad bioswales can't look that pretty.
Yeah. I know. On page 31, just a few things just to highlight. One, the Crawfords and the event that we had the opportunity to be a part of on September 26th, which was absolutely wonderful, and we thank them again for all of their support. We also took the time to be part of the Homeowners Association breakfast on September 20th, and I thank John for actually showing board support and coming out and assisting with me and with Christina that day so that we could start pushing our Gale courses, which is our online learning, and the opportunity for people to learn free through the library. Many wonderful and different opportunities, whether it's computer, health-related business, or even personal development. So we had a good time. We actually had Gale representatives at our table, and they helped us sign up some folks to use the courses. And there are some statistics that show that we are getting the usage already with just starting it in less than a month, really, the kickoff. We also, it wasn't in the report for the goals, but I also had 84 students from 3 fifth-grade classes that we gave a tour and did an after-hours event with at the library. Mr. Cosman we've built a wonderful relationship with him. He's in the 5th-grade building through the Novi Community School District. Great teacher, and sees the value in his students connecting with the library very early on in their fifth grade year, so that they build those resources and the opportunity to connect with us throughout the school year. So I appreciate him and his teachers for connecting with us. The cafe report, we also already discussed, and then we will discuss during the HR report. So I'm happy to entertain any questions on what I have written at this time, if you have any.
I just want to point out on page 40 under the building operations report that a purchase order has been issued with respect to the air curtain. Are we satisfied that we have a solution, a viable solution for this coming winter, which Farmer's Almanac says is going to be as bad as last year?
Right. Well, we certainly believe that it's going to be a big help. Anyone that I talk to says it won't totally solve the problem. We're always going to have the wind. But we do feel confident that this will be a big help and really improve our situation. And we're hoping for the installation to be later this month.
Great. Who is the contractor?
I believe the name is Osterman Electric. It's the company, when you went to visit the other site that has one, it's the same company that installed theirs.
They will have all the drywall, everything?
Yes.
Everything,
They'll do,
yes.
they'll do yes, they're going to do the entire project. I believe they're going to have a subcontractor with the drywall part, but they'll oversee that. We won't be. It's a little under 8,000, I believe. So it was a lower bid than the ones we had seen earlier.
This was a system that was, I believe, in Tijuana Blue.
Yes, down in Royal Oak. Absolutely. Yep, and we actually got to see it working, and Trustee Verma went with us that day. We took one of our facilities staff as well, so that we, could all see the way the mechanical ran and how it was fixated. It's definitely going to be different situated in our ceiling area, but we were able to see how strong it was and how it actually worked with the doors. So it was very good.
I have a question regarding what is the contract cost?
The total for that project,
The proposal we accepted,
it's
yes,
just under 8,000.
under 8,000?
And we had budgeted close to 14
Right.
for the project.
So 8,000 is all-inclusive?
It is, it's everything. It'll be just under.
And then I have a question, did we had a resolution on the asphalt parking lot issue?
Not a resolution. We have been in contact with Rob Hayes from Department of Public Services, and he is actually coming to meet with us tomorrow.
Oh, good. For the benefit of the board, when we did the asphalt work initially, there was some issues, and in return for, one of the resolution we had to the issue was that they would extend the warranty complete for 5 years. And there has been some issues with the parking lot now, and I believe that the library has notified Nagel Paving as to the warranty issues, and their first response was that the items were not covered by the warranty.
Yes.
So, in discussions, we agreed to have Rob Hayes and the city have the engineering staff come up and verify from a technical perspective what the problems are, do meet the literal language in the warranty, and then formalize it in a letter back to the folks at Nagel and indicate that,
Do we
Yeah,
know what
hopefully
the
we can get
problems are?
excuse me?
Do we know what the problems are?
Well, in terms of, there's cracking, and there's some chipping, and there's some deterioration underneath. And actually, remember, Ramesh, the warranty details 3 areas where it indicates that it's an encompassing warranty dealing with the following 3 or 4 categories. And they're probably more in construction, road construction ease, if you will. And so the response back was, well, let's get the folks from the city to look to see if our problems, we believe our problems fit the description, but let's get the city engineer folks to come up and say, yes, this is what we in the industry reference these problems to be. So that way we have no dispute of saying, well, you guys don't know what you're talking about. We'll go back and say, well, we think we do, because we have the people that you deal with every day that design these things and inspect these things and require these things, and they're telling us that these are items that are properly covered by the warranty.
Thank you.
So, and that's tomorrow, so that's good.
Yes.
Okay.
If I could add just one thing on page 41, I just wanted to give you just an update on how the read box did through most of the summer. These are not the final numbers because I still have a week that went into October. But to date, the read boxes, we had 3 of them in the community this year. We had them at ITC Park, Rotary Park, and Lakeshore Park. And we know that we circulated 1,039 items so far. That's just passively getting materials, books into kids, teenagers, and adults' hands through the summer while using our parks. So I think that's a fantastic testament to how well they connected with those people visiting our parks this summer.
As Julie pointed out, the statistics that we track are on pages 41 through 49. And on page 47, she's now amended the template to include the jail courses. Make sure I understand, please. So we had 3 completed classes during the month of September.
Right.
The first month.
Right.
Then you have a category called active learners, 107. Is that the number of participants?
That's how many have registered and might be in a course right now. The 3 is completed, which means they went through the 6 weeks of the course, completed and earned their certificate. So right now, 107 people might be utilizing and taking a class. 3 have finished.
There's a chance that 104 might eventually fall into the completed class category.
Correct?
Okay. Cool. Do you want to talk about pages 50 and 51, the Friends of the Novi Library?
Yes, thank you. This, on page 50, is the Friends minutes from September 10th. What I wanted to just point out, they're getting ready for a vintage book sale, which will be next week on Monday, October 20th, and which is some specialized books that they've had for a while now at the library, and they've found that there's some added value to them, so they might get a different type of book buyer at that event. They are also partaking in being wonderful partners with our gala, we're calling it a cornucopia of thanks, which will occur on Friday, October 24th, and I know you're all invited. And we're over 100 so far for that event. I think it'll be a great way. Our purpose for that event is to just thank supporters. These are people that have generously donated in the past to the library and have supported us in some way or some capacity. Our hope for that night is for 2 hours for you to come in. We will have a wine tasting and hors d'oeuvres, light hors d'oeuvres. And then we are going to showcase 6 different areas where you'll walk around in the building and get a little insight into what we've been doing that's new. So we'll talk about Gale courses. There will be a place for that if people are interested in learning about the new online courses. The fundraising initiative that we're taking digital with our couponing, we will have that gentleman and our partner there as well that night. We'll talk a little bit about the Motor Cities Marker Project and highlighting that for the Historical Commission. So, and then also a table for our friends to join as members if they have not joined in the past. So just a way to walk around, get some new and fresh ideas about the library, and then also have an opportunity to just meet good people from the community.
I have a question for you with
Sure.
respect to page 51.
Yes.
I was particularly impressed with this promotional brochure.
That is
Tell us
theirs.
about the Friends.
Yes.
Did we help them compile
We,
this
no,
at all?
this came
They did all on
completely
their own?
from them. Yes, this is Sue Johnson's work.
Well,
Yep.
let's put it in the record that
Yeah,
they
she,
did an awesome job.
they have some wonderful leadership on their board, and they've really taken, taken their reins and moved forward with things in terms of taking open ownership of a lot of things that the library used to help with, and they do completely on their own now. So that's why I wanted to put it in there for you to see. I thought it was a great brochure.
Is there a link on our website to have?
I'm not sure. I know that they do put a lot of information. Do you know if that brochure is? I'll double check, but,
I would encourage
yeah.
it. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory about all the different services that.
I will
they
double
provide.
check. I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't, but I will double check.
And there's no historical commission reports?
There is
tonight?
not. I have not received anything. I'm aware that some of their members have been out of town, so.
Okay. Moving on to item 12, committee reports. I will say a couple things. Since assuming the chairmanship of the meetings here, I think it only makes sense that I relinquish chairmanship of all the committees that I serve on. I will continue to serve as a member on the committees, but I would ask my fellow trustees to step forward and volunteer to assume chairmanship of any of the committees. And we have the policy committee, which obviously needs a little retweaking. Trustee Lesko pointed out. We have the HR committee that has a report as a result of the meeting they held on Wednesday, October 1st. The finance committee, the fundraising committee, the strategic planning committee, and the building/landscape committee. Those are the standing committees that we have in place. Yes, sir.
I would like to volunteer myself to fill your chair seat on the finance committee.
Accepted.
I've got Mr. Lesko's name already in under my policy committee here. Did I get a different sheet?
If you want to take the chair, no.
No, would you like to take?
Oh, no, I know.
That's a negative?
Not the chair, no.
Okay, let's see if we can lean on,
Well, he's not here, so it would be
Yeah.
appropriate.
do we
We
have
can-
authority to appoint him in his absence?
I think we do.
I think you
Wait,
do.
You're in the seat.
Can we check with our policy reader? Is that-
We'd like to graciously thank Craig for volunteering to chair the policy, which now has member Lesko doing it.
If he has any questions on how that happened, he can
Yeah.
refer to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so who wants to speak on behalf of the HR committee?
She's doing it. Juliet.
So we met on October 1st. John Lesko and Ramesh Verma, trustees, met with me to discuss the employee benefits holiday policy, as well as the closure policy. We did find a couple things that we are recommending for change. If you look at the closure policy first, which is on page 33. Just better wordsmithing, really, of some of them to explain the holidays that are currently closed. So instead of Easter Eve, it's Saturday before Easter. The Monday of Memorial Day, the Sunday of Memorial Day was omitted by mistake, we found when we were going through and looking through the policy, as well as mentioning the Saturday of Labor Day weekend, just a better explanation of that, and then the Sunday of Labor Day. So there was no recommendation for changing any of these except for the wordsmithing and making sure that we are detailing these closures and these holidays.
So
Or these
the board-
closures for it.
The board action you're looking for is to ratify the recommendation?
The action I'm looking for is to approve with the suggested new language for the closure policy for those particular dates in question. Also, we made a notation of the staff development day. Because we approved that last month, it's now usually scheduled for the third Friday in August instead of November as it was noted before. And then just the amendment dates that are on there. So there is no change to omit any closure dates or anything, but just to identify them better and wordsmith better.
Thank you. I don't mean to be presumptive, but we do have patrons available for public comment. This is an opportunity for second public comment. If anybody wishes to address the board, this is your opportunity. Failing that, we have no additional matters of board discussion, as the separation and selection policy is still with the attorney.
Yes.
Understanding? So therefore, then, the wordsmithing done by the HR committee, as represented on the reports we see on page 33 and 34, are up for approval by the board, so I will accept the motion.
So move.
Second.
Okay.
Clarification, we're just talking about the closure policy at this point, right?
Uh,
We're not talking about the holiday.
I can go into the employee benefit holiday
you want to do
policy.
them separate?
What, no, I'm just asking clarification.
Sure.
What-
Probably be better just to do them together.
I was going to suggest we do them together.
Yeah.
The-
Unless there's objections.
The employee benefit holiday policy on page 34, basically, again, wordsmithing to remove the Thanksgiving Eve because that is not a paid holiday. That was just just a notation of when we close at 5 o'clock. So again, there's just no change, but just in terms of wordsmithing it for better understanding of the dates.
Clarification under the point under the days, which says, yeah, we got the listing of, the 8 or 9 days. Whenever Christmas Day, New Year's Day, or Independence Day falls on a Sunday, the library will be closed on the Monday after.
That is correct.
Now, this is where I get confused in terms of the library being closed, or it's a holiday.
No, the library is closed.
Okay, but it's kind of listed in the holiday section. And that's what I'm confused by. So,
It's because we're recognizing, it's those holidays, though, those actual holidays of Christmas Day, New Year's Day, and Independence Day are paid holidays. Was that your question?
well, if
Well, no,
if
but-
it's closed on the Monday after, is the Monday a paid holiday?
We are open on Sundays, right?
Except when the
On
holiday
holidays.
falls on the Sunday. I
Correct.
think what would clarify things is if you parenthetically refer to B2, the closure policy, for that paragraph as it relates to employee benefits / holidays. Because your intent was just to reinforce the fact that the library will be closed, but not construe ambiguity that it's a paid holiday.
And it is in the closure policy.
Right.
It says there, but it's also in the holiday policy.
Correct.
So no, I'm personally confused, what would be, because it's listed as the holiday policy, is then the Sunday and the Monday a paid holiday?
No,
The answer is no,
it's not.
just the holiday itself.
Correct.
So again, to trustee Stirring's point, why do you need that second reiteration of it unless you cross-reference it to the closure just for general information purposes?
for the closure policy, that's a general policy that the public would be seeing. So you're letting them know.
We need it
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
page 33 on the
Yep.
closure policy.
Right. All right, you're asking, do we
Trustee
need
Serrano's
that?
question
Yes.
is the need to include it in the employee benefit.
Can that line be eliminated on page 34, in the
It-
employee
it-
benefit
sure.
holiday?
Okay.
Good night, all.
Can I,
It's up to you. I mean,
Well, if it's not an additional holiday, it's confusing
Yeah,
to
you're
me,
right,
so I would
right.
support
taking
removing
it
it,
out, right?
if that was the intent.
So if people don't work on those Mondays, but they don't get paid?
not unless they're full-time. Yeah, or rescheduled. I mean, you're only being paid for the time that you work or the benefit time that you take.
So, having this discussion, the chair will entertain a motion to treat each of these separately. So let's talk about
Okay.
the closure policy first. Do I have a motion to accept the revised wordsmith closure policy?
Move that we accept the B2 closure policy.
Is there a second? Second. Okay. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, with respect to page 34, the employee benefits holiday, I will entertain a motion to amend it by deletion of that same paragraph from this schedule, and then ratification of the change of the days listed above. Anyone want to make that motion?
I move that we eliminate the whenever Christmas Day, et cetera, paragraph from the employee benefits holidays policy page.
And accept the rest as presented.
Yes, and accept the rest as presented.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion?
I still, in my mind, want to make sure that the administration agrees with the fact that if a Christmas Day, New Year's Day, or Independence Day falls on a Sunday, the employees don't work on the Monday,
Correct.
but it's not holiday pay.
They're paid for the holiday that Sunday. They would be paid for those holidays. They're only paid for these holidays that are listed.
Okay, if
I mean,
that,
right?
that's,
Will they need a gentle reminder that when it does fall on a Sunday, the following day, the library would be closed?
We-
They would have to make up
Yeah,
that closure time.
we do that, we
to
work that
normal
out.
rescheduling.
Absolutely.
How does that work then? If there's 10, if I added up correctly, there's 10 holidays.
Right.
And there's 16 close days? Did I do my math correct?
You're right, 16.
All right, so going to Member Stirring's comment, as we talked last month, at least I think one of the issues was if we were gonna be closed, but folks were still getting paid for those days, what was the purpose of being closed? So these other 6 days, no one is getting compensated for these days?
No, they're not.
These additional 6 days?
No, they do not. We're just closed.
How does that work for, we're not all hourly, how does it work for salary staff?
Salary will change their schedules and everything in order to work the hours they need or take benefit time in order to make up for the 40 hours that they're paid per week.
Take benefit time?
Yep.
What's benefit time?
Like, if they take a vacation day.
Oh, vacation, okay,
Right.
I'm sorry, okay, I thought there was
Coming
a.
to trustee Checkey's point here. Labor Day is a recognized holiday. We want to further recognize the Saturday before Labor Day as a holiday. But we're gonna be closed in the intervening Sunday, which is not a paid holiday. How did we choose the Saturday to be paid, not the Sunday?
The reason that came about was because when we made changes to the employee benefit holiday time a while back, Martin Luther King Day had been a day that was a paid holiday. And we took that day and we opened and we switched it to the September date, just like we did with, there were dates that we changed so that the staff wasn't losing.
Again, but what was the choice for the Saturday versus the Sunday? Since you're gonna be
We were
closed-
open. No, we were closed already. Yeah, we were closed on Sundays in the old calendar. We weren't open in the summer.
But now we're not gonna be open on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday.
Right,
but we're
which that
paying
was the
for Saturday
decision.
and Monday and not Sunday.
No, that was a decision we had made in order to close that full weekend, knowing that the library was not going to be very busy on that weekend. That was the discussion we had, that was 2 years back, I think, when we made that decision with Martin Luther King, because we're going on our third year with Martin Luther King being open. I can go back to old notes old board decisions, but it was for that full weekend. That's why when I brought you Memorial Weekend, it's the same thing. It's a low usage, which I understand your point, though, to be open and available, but it was a very low usage time, and the board decided to go ahead and be closed that full weekend, knowing low usage, and then we could take the other date from Martin Luther King, some other dates that we were now going to be open. That also was the Friday of Easter. We used to be closed. Now we decided to be open on that day and closed on the Saturday of that Easter weekend. That was the trade-off there too, so that staff weren't losing their employee benefited holiday time, but making changes to what we would close for the library itself and made sense
I
for
know, but
holidays.
it seems, based upon my reading, now that it's been pointed out to me, thank you, that we're paying for the Saturday before Easter and the Saturday before Labor Day as holidays, so we're committed to paying for those two Saturdays, even though those days aren't holidays, and we're not paying for the Easter Sunday, which is a holiday.
If you want to switch the days, we can, if that makes more sense to you, absolutely. I just don't want to lose the benefited holiday time for the staff.
Agreed, but it seems arbitrary that the
But that's
weekend
how they got
of
changed.
Labor Day,
Yeah.
you're choosing to pay for Saturday, not Sunday, and again on Monday.
Right. It was all just because of switching of dates,
But the- but-
switching of,
But the holidays are already, the traditional holidays
Yeah.
have always been here. New
Yes.
Year's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas. And then obviously we've got here Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, which are more than, I think, traditional holidays. I mean, most places are open on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
I'm having a tough time articulating this, but basically, what's kind of happened, I think, is that we're a 7-day-a-week operation. And so when there's a holiday, whether it's, Friday or Saturday or Sunday, it's a holiday. Somehow it seems to be distorted a little bit for the city, which is not really, there's some functions, obviously, 7 days a week, but generally it's more of a 5-day a week. So for the city, when the holiday is a Sunday, they celebrate it on the Monday because they otherwise wouldn't celebrate it. But some of that logic doesn't follow to me when you're a 7-day-a-week operation anyway. And that's where I'm
well, we've
struggling
changed. Yes,
a little
we've
bit
changed.
as to what difference does it make if the holiday's a Sunday when you're a 7-day-a-week operation? Because that's just a normal work day anyway. That's where and that's where we kind of get this, you get paid the day before the holiday, but you don't get paid on the holiday, when you're closed the day after the holiday. Somehow, I think it makes sense because of what we historically did, but when you just look at it fresh, it looks a little strange.
It's a little convoluted.
Well, the dates don't, no, and I know that's because of the dates that we gave up and made changes with in the past. We swapped out for those dates in order to keep the same holiday days and for benefit for the staff.
Well, at minimum, I would recommend you pay for Easter as a holiday,
Okay,
and then just leave the Saturday before Easter as a closed
As a
date
closure.
that you schedule.
right,
around.
as a closure, okay?
The one, though, that I'm really struggling with, which used to be called Labor Day Eve,
Yeah,
is
Yeah.
the Saturday before the Monday, which it will always be Labor Day on Monday.
Right.
So I understand you don't want to give up a paid holiday, and it used to be Martin Luther King Day, and now it got shifted to this one.
Correct.
It just seems to be a bad shift.
Yeah.
Is there another holiday so that you keep the 10, then it makes more sense?
Well, what Member Margot has just said, right now, the holiday policy in front of us just has the Saturday before Easter as a paid holiday. But Easter itself is not.
Right.
Correct.
And I just suggested
Right, okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't
Right.
misreading that, okay.
Right. We're historically always closed.
Well,
That's,
But I think the balance is between your idea to keep
Right.
the holidays, but also the issue was if we were closed, I think the expectation was that there was gonna be a corresponding financial benefit, a direct benefit to the library, that the library was shut down those days. Because the alternative could be stay open on those days, but just have a very pared back staff on the premise that we have very few patrons that come into the library. So the library's still there, but you don't have a full, resource desk and so forth and so on. And
I
I'm
wouldn't
just
be in
trying
favor
to,
of that.
I'm sorry?
I wouldn't be in favor of that.
And that, the reason why you wouldn't be,
To be open on some of those holidays? No? I-
no, the difference between the 16 closure days versus the holidays. I think we've talked about 10 holidays,
Right.
but there's 16 closure days. There's 6 additional days that we choose to be closed, and like I said, I think that the balance between what's good for the employees and good for the library is that the library gets a distinct, direct financial benefit from actually being shut down. And I'm not so sure we really do. I understand you move hours around, but I don't know how that actually equates.
Here's a suggestion from the chair. I'd recommend what used to be called Labor Day ED, that you're now talking the Saturday of Labor Day weekend, replaced with Veterans Day. That's the paid holiday, so you have 10 holidays that are clear.
So they're paid for it, but we're actually open on that day.
You're actually going to be open that day.
Right.
That would be the exception.
So it's a floater. Is that what you're?
Yep, okay.
Is that an acceptable compromise? Well, I have to ask the maker of the motion if
Right.
they accept that.
So the 10 days then for the employee benefit holidays would be New Year's Day, Easter Sunday, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Veterans Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Eve Day, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve Day.
Where did you put Veteran Day?
We're omitting the Labor Day Eve, yeah, Saturday of Labor Day.
So, I'm sorry, Marcia, who made the motion?
That would have been John Lesko.
Are you amenable to the suggested change?
I agree.
And the seconder? Okay. So now we have an amended motion on the table to retain 10 holidays, but delete that first paragraph that talks about the library being closed on the subsequent Monday, since that only applies to the closure policy. Do we need additional conversation on this revised motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm struggling here
Okay.
now, where the Saturday before Easter is still an appropriate closure day. We're just being closed on Easter. We're closed on, is there still a I'm confused, is there a holiday on Saturday before Easter? That one's been removed, right? Is that-
Yes, that was
yeah.
just changed to
We're
Easter.
Easter Sunday.
That's
We
Easter.
recognize that as
Right,
Easter Sunday.
But it's still a closure day on the closure. Okay,
It
that
is.
matches, that matches.
Yep.
I don't have any other comments, sorry.
So Labor Day weekend, it's just Labor Day?
We're paying for Labor
Yep.
Day, but we're gonna be closed Saturday and Sunday.
Right, okay.
Yep,
And we've added Veterans Day as a holiday.
Yes.
yep.
Thank you, I appreciate that suggestion.
All in favor of the revised motion?
Aye.
Right,
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, and I believe that's all the business that we had on the agenda. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I I know we did it, it's not gonna change, but just to be clear, the closure policy, we've been referring to 16 days. But actually, it can go up to as high as 19 days in any given year, because we will still be closed on the Mondays if those,
If they
The
fall.
holidays
Days.
fall.
if
Correct.
Christmas, New
Yeah.
Year's, and Independence Day falls on a Sunday.
Yes.
Right.
You are correct. I'm sorry, there was a motion to adjourn, was there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:26.
Great.
Thank you.